Good morning. Welcome to the March 28th, 2022 meeting of the Rutherford County Regional Planning Commission. If you will stand with us, please, for our prayer and our pledge. Our Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for Rutherford County. We thank you for this city and this community. God, continue to bless this community as we grow. Look after us and let us do the right thing that is in the best interest of all the citizens of our county. Father, we have a special prayer this morning that you be with Doug DeMoss's family, especially his son, as they're going through a medical procedure this morning. We ask that everything be done according to your will. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Face the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands. Thank you. You may be seated. Call the roll, please, Gail.
Charlotte P. Here. Chip Pinion. Craig Lynch. David Jones. Here. Jim Averwater. Here. Lee Bogle. Here. Marvin Whitworth.
Here.
Mike Cush.
Present.
Pattis Reed.
Here.
Rhonda Allen.
Here.
Jeff Phillips.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Gail. This time we need to approve the minutes for our March 14th meeting. I'll call on our Vice Chair, Pattis Reed.
Mr. Chairman, I have the hard copy of those minutes right here if anybody would like to look at those, but I have gone over those. I find no problems. I move they be approved.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve our March 14th meeting minutes. All those in favor of that motion to approve, please say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. Let me make a couple of introductions this morning. Danielle Glauner is sitting in for Doug, as Doug's family is at the hospital this morning. And we also have someone sitting in for Nick Christensen, is Daniel Ames. Good to have you guys with us this morning. And don't usually do this, but out here in the front row is a gentleman named Don Bruce. I've been on this planning commission since 1990. And he's been bringing stuff before this planning commission since before I was on the commission. Don, it's good to see you, and good to see you still active in the community. Thank you for being here. We'll get right into our new business. Let me go ahead and tell you that item 6A2, item 22-004, Whitestone Subdivision, that preliminary plan has been withdrawn. Item 6A submitted for preliminary plan approval, 6A1, item 22-1002, Elmington Residential, 108 lots on 46 plus acres on PUD located along Las Casas Pike. Elmington Residential is the applicant. Danielle.
This property was rezoned to a plan unit development by the Board of Commissioners in November of 2021. There's been a minor change to the street layout. However, the plan has been deemed consistent with the approved pattern book. During the review of the preliminary plan, there were several comments, especially regarding the drainage, and Mike can go into detail on that. We will need to see some minor changes to some notes that can be resolved if the board approves it. That could be a condition. There were some concerns that the tree buffers that were shown along Las Casas Pike would be in conflict with the existing 20-inch line that goes along Las Casas Pike. We've reached out to CUD, and that will be looked at further by CUD during the construction plan review. The applicant has been notified that they're going to have to work with CUD on that because they are proposing to install landscaping along those buffers, which would include trees and shrubbery. CUD will not allow trees within their drainage, waterline easement, and that can be an item that's resolved during the construction plan review. The applicant is proposing well in excess of the acreage for open space that was approved in the pattern book. So, Mike, did you want to add anything?
Yes. So what Daniel's saying is in the approved pattern book, they showed these landscaping buffers along Las Casas Pike, and I will show you, hopefully, utility line that she's talking about. We just need this coordinated with CUD. There's a 20-inch line that runs outside of the right-of-way that we don't need that conflicting with their landscaping buffers. They do have a lot of room to move stuff around if need be. You can see this common area here. There's a wide common area outside of their tree buffer here, so we're thinking this is okay. These lots, could slide down a little bit. These lots could slide down as well. The only one that might cause an issue with the water line would be this lot 17, and it could be moved over here. So just a little coordinating with that, and we think it could be okay. Drainage, we haven't got the complete works yet, but we did do a lot of evaluating of this project on the front end with the rezoning booklet because of the volume sensitive nature of this area, and we're feeling comfortable with what they've submitted. You can see a little stub street right here, and I'll give you a little spoiler alert. This is the Elmington, or now called Las Casas Estates development. It will connect eventually to future sections of Northside Estates. So that'll be good. It'll give Northside a second connection, second and third connection out to Las Casas Pike. It'll have to go through a step lot right here, but it's all starting to come together. There is Pitts Lane down here, and we're still looking at that. If any of y'all know Pitts Lane, it's no more than a nice wide driveway, so there might need some work need to be done on it. So, but as far as drainage, going back to that, we're feeling pretty good about what they're proposing. They've got a huge volume stormwater management area here that will hold back. We've asked them to evaluate pre and post volumes, so they're not sending more volume of water. They're holding back the increased volume on their side and not sending any more volume of water to the adjacent development. So we're feeling pretty good about that. The only other thing that we need to work on, just a little fine tuning, is the kiosk. When it comes in with a preliminary, it's essentially a completed site plan. And try to zoom down to it. So there's a little fine tuning. We'll need some more spot shots, some grades, the handicap ramps. They've added truncated domes, but they actually need to have handicap ramps on either side of the driveway of this. So just some minor fine tuning, nothing we don't think is an issue. So this is where everybody will pick up their mail. They've got two options. They can pull in here and park and get your mail, or there's two parallel parking on the street that you could, if you're just coming through and leaving the subdivision or something, you could park right here, hop out, get your mail, and then go on to work or wherever. So we're feeling pretty good about that. Like I said, the real evaluation will come with the construction plans. So it hasn't been submitted yet, but we'll keep a close eye on the drainage, traffic, and everything else. This development will be adding turn lanes on Las Casas Pike, right turn decels and left turn if you're coming south, you can turn left into the development. So there's a lot of work that's going to be done on Lascassas Pike, and since that's a state road, all that coordinated with TDOT, and you can see all the turn lanes that they'll be adding with this development. So we believe they've addressed all of their comments except for a few minor ones, and what we said, working out with CUD with the landscaping, make sure they're not planting trees on top of the existing 20-inch water line. But other than that, we're in pretty decent shape.
Thank you, Mike. Questions?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Mike, I know there's turn lanes going in there, but was there any additional right-of-way dedication needed in case future widening to 5-lane? Or I was trying to think of what the overall plan may be down the road.
Let's see, they have this.
I know by the time they build
it is in the long-range plan to be a 5-lane.
Okay.
I thought they had adequate right-of-way, if I can remember.
Well, when I was counting lanes up, I mean, by the time you had the right turn, the left turn, and the through lanes, you basically have the 5-lane template.
Right.
But I just didn't know if there was any additional needed there or not.
I don't believe so. It's showing 120 foot of right-of-way.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we thought they had enough.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, and then this, you can kind of see the water line. That little box keeps popping up. But the water line is right here. I don't think that's field located because it's too uniform right in the middle of that 30-foot easement. So that's something we'll need coordinating with CUD.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Mike,
Yes, sir.
I asked this question back when we approved it last fall. If you go back to the overall plan that shows the whole thing, the water that falls at Lascassas Pike is going to drain back to the retention pond.
Yes, sir.
How is it going to get there? I don't see anything that's going to get it there other than through somebody's yard,
Well,
unless it goes underground.
it will be underground. Yes, sir. So there's an existing 30-inch concrete pipe across Lascassas Pike. They'll have to pick that up and carry it all the way to the east to the stormwater management area. So that's one of the tricky things that they're going to have to be, because it's so far away and it's so deep. It's going to be a challenge for them. But they are accounting for what's falling on the west side of Lascassas Pike and flowing through there.
But up in the corner up there, and all along that is all the water that falls on this plot going to drain to that 30-inch line, or are they going to, or is it going to be expected to go through my yard if I buy in the middle there?
Are you talking about this area where that ponding was originally?
Well, no, actually back further than that, where there's a whole set of houses going to be put.
Up there to the master plan.
Right there. Come on down a little more, Mike. To the left of that is Lascassas Pike.
Yes, sir.
And you've got a whole row of two sets of houses that's come through there with no, so the pipe that you're talking about, the 30-inch pipe, is going to go under those houses, through those yards. Of course, the other side of that is nothing that falls on that property is going to soak in where it falls, because it's all going to be rooftop and concrete. So you're going to have to take care of a lot of water.
Sir, and that was my issue on the front end with the rezoning package. Because this is such a volume-sensitive area, you're transitioning from a farm with good soil to a highly impervious area with
Right.
a lot of rooftops, a lot of driveways, a lot of roads. So, but they've done a lot of work on the front end. So if you zoom in and look at the preliminaries, they do show their proposed stormwater network in a lot of places. So they put a lot of effort and thought into this, but this will not move forward until we are satisfied with their construction plans, to make sure that this will not impact the future residents, but also the existing residents around this place.
One of my concerns, I guess, is that 5 years from now, I don't want to come back in here and have some neighbor, some resident in there complaining because water's going across their yard.
Yes, sir. Right.
Because it needs to be taken care of before the house is ever, foundation's ever put.
Sir. And that's something we look at it on the construction plans, but all through the construction process and then the as-built as well. So they have to, once this is all constructed, they have to come back with as-built plans, record drawings of what's in the ground, and it needs to match the design plans. So we've looked at it on the front end, on the back end, and all through the construction process. So yes, we don't like ditches in the backyards, especially these small lots, because if you build a house, they're going to take up most of the building envelope. I think the minimum lot size is only 6,600 square feet. That's not a big yard, not a big yard at all. So if you put a house on their driveway, all the other improved patio, sidewalks and everything, you don't have much room for a backyard. So that's what we're trying to push the development community to: larger lots, larger backyards. So this is not an issue with these developments. And in some places, we're asking them, don't run ditches through the backyards because of the issues that we have. So try to crown say these yards right here. Could you crown those to have the drainage go to the streets, not through the middle of the backyard? So that's something we're working with the development community on. If you're going to do these planned developments with the smaller lots, you need to look at drainage a lot more in depth on the front end. So that's, yes, I do not want to get any calls of drainage issues at all. So, yes, sir, right. But as far as the preliminary, we're feeling good about the preliminary. You know, there's going to be some fine tuning. This is going to be their recirculating sand filter. The step lot is down here. So there's a lot of moving pieces and parts and everything that goes along with this. So.
Other questions? Mike?
Are you ready for a motion? Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to approve, subject to all staff comments.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 22-1002, Elmington Residential. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion to approve this preliminary plan, please say aye. Any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. 6B, we have 7 items that are submitted for final plat approval. 6B1, item 22-2015, Sycamore Grove, Section 1, 88 lots on 72.86 acres, Zone PUD, located along Old Nashville Highway. Sycamore Grove is the applicant. Danielle.
The preliminary plan for the development was approved in March of 2020. And despite some minor comments regarding labeling and notes that we'd like to see on the plat, we find that the plan is consistent with the preliminary plan that was approved, and we find it in good order. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
I do. This is another one that is a volume. If you know this area, Old Nashville Highway, Burleson Road, it is another area that is a volume sensitive. It doesn't drain to a typical river or creek or stream. We have had a lot of design work went into this to add very large stormwater management areas that can capture and hold back the additional runoff from these smaller lots and the overall development. So we're feeling really good about that. Our current maps don't show that, but Google Earth happened to have some images of it under construction earlier this year. So this is a massive stormwater management area that as was constructed on this south side of this development. There's another one up here. So we're, this one we put through the ringer, as we will the Elmington development, the first one. So we're feeling really good about this development and the improvements. We've had a lot of heavy rains and have not, as far as I know, had any complaints from the adjacent properties. These properties, you can go back in time and Google Earth and see what it used to look like before the development started. And go back to one of our benchmark storms, May 2010. There was a lot of water standing in this area that crept over into the neighboring parcels. There's a wetland. This area up here stays wet. You can kind of see the ground here. So what we've asked them to do is oversize these stormwater management areas to take care of this development, but also help the surrounding development too. And we believe that it's been successful so far. So if you go back and look at the way it's under construction, and we tell everybody this is like a clay parking lot. Once you scrape the topsoil off and start doing the earthwork and moving material, water hits this like a parking lot and sheets right off. Eventually, when you get the houses and drives and roads and everything, you will have more impervious, but you also have the lawns in place that'll help slow the water down. But this is a challenge during construction of all this bare clay, bare earth, that we need to make sure that water is captured and doesn't impact anybody during development. So that's probably more you wanted to know than this, but just to let you know, we're watching everything on the front end, during construction and afterwards as well. So, but Danielle is correct. We are feeling good about it. There's, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make this meeting any longer than it is, but there is, back. We'll need some coordination with a drainage easement, just a small detail. There's a large ditch that runs in here. We need to make sure that this open space is okay. There is and there's something else we'll need to coordinate with CUD. There is along the front, there's an open space. It is a planned unit, public utility and drainage easement, but it's also a CUD easement. So we got to make sure that CUD is okay with what's going on in this easement, because a lot of times they don't like drainage in their easements. So we got to make sure that that's okay. And I think we're okay with it on the construction plan side, but that's just a minor detail we'll have to work out with them. Apologize. But other than that, the plat is in good order.
Does staff feel that any these remaining issues can be worked out prior to releasing this thing?
Yes, sir. And it's, like I said, just some fine tuning with this easement with CUD, make sure they're okay with, you can see there's a 10-foot drainage easement on the back of the lot, and some of that ditch straddles over into this public utility and drainage easement area, open space, lot 1. So we just need to make sure that they're okay with their water line and the drainage plan. So that's just a fine-tuning issue.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve, subject to staff comments.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 22-2015, Sycamore Grove, Section 1. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of that motion to approve, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you.
One question for you, Mike. You got enough staff? We only had 2 here, and we talked
wish I had
fine-tuning,
Yes, sir.
fine-tuning.
I wish I had 8 engineers instead of 3, but yes, we're doing the best we can, but y'all have heard me complain about FEMA buyouts on these older subdivisions. I don't like FEMA buyouts, and I can't stress that enough. So we're being careful on the front end to make sure that these houses are protected from flooding issues, but also making sure that the neighbors around them aren't impacted by these new developments. So, but to answer your question, I wish I had 8 engineers instead of 3. So.
Thank you. Item 6B2, final plat. Item 22-2016, Clear Creek, Section 3, Phase 2, 25 lots on 19-plus acres on PUD located along Springwater Street. Clear Creek is the applicant. Danielle.
Thank you. Clear Creek's preliminary plan was approved in March of 2016, and we found that the plat was, for the most part, consistent with the approved preliminary plan. But there's been an issue that we've been experiencing, and regarding setbacks. And what they're showing are 5-foot setback minimum building restriction lines, and we have asked for them to either show a 10 and a 5-foot setback or a 7.5-foot setback on each side. But that's because the plat is what the building department, everyone uses when they go out in the field to determine setbacks. And if you can explain some of the confusion that we've been experiencing.
Tanya might have a better instance. Typically, it's not an issue, but if you've got 2 different builders, one builder puts his house 5 foot from the side property line, next builder, different builder, he doesn't know, and he wants to build his, most of the time it's caught by building codes and says, no, you need to move that over 5 more feet to get the 15-foot separation. But we just thought it'd be best to go ahead and show it on here. They did what they're doing here on the earlier sections, but to avoid confusion, go ahead and just show the 5 foot on one side, 10 foot on the other, or 7.5 and 7.5, or whatever. These aren't small lots. I think they're 1,000 or something at least. Yeah, they're 12,000, 15,000. So these are good sized lots, 11,000 some of them, but we just thought it best to go ahead and avoid confusion. But that's what they did in the earlier sections. And another comment, and we might be missing it, was, what's that?
Oh, I'm sorry, the stream buffer note.
Oh, okay. Well, there are some lots that, back up to Stewart's Creek and needed fill material. They are in the FEMA flood zone, but we want to identify any of the lots that need compaction letters for building codes. So when a builder goes to the building codes department to pull a permit, there should be an associated compaction letter saying, okay, this has been filled. It was under the supervision of a geotechnical engineering. So these are good. The houses won't settle, and we just need those identified, which lots needed that fill material, and that should be reflected from the construction plans, I think. And also, another minor thing, and I'm sorry if I ramble on, but the lot 142, I think it's changing, and it doesn't reflect the lot in the title, but they said they will fix that. I believe, and a stream buffer note, we need, let's see.
The correct language.
The correct language on that. So just, again, a minor tweak. And it seems like a lot that we're rattling off. We had a huge submittal. So going back and forth and coordinating and checking and everything, it takes a lot of time. So a month seems like a long time, but back and forth, it does take a lot of effort with staff and the design community. So, but if you grant us the ability to approve this subject to making these revisions, we feel comfortable we can work with them and move ahead.
I so make that motion, subject to staff comments.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 22-2016, Clear Creek, Section 3, Phase 2. Other questions or comments? Charlotte?
Okay, Mike, and you have a long list that you say are minor things, which I trust your opinion, but as you said, you only have 3 engineers.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
I don't want to approve things and put more work on your engineers, just to get through it, or just to approve it. So you don't hesitate to tell us.
Oh, yes, there's some coming up that you'll hear my hesitation on
Okay.
a little bit. But this one, well, we need to be careful on the final plat, because this is the legal document that separates the land. This is the final issue of the land separation. So we need to make sure this is correct. And, we can, building codes and us can continue to work with this side setback issue. But like I said, if it were clearly stated on here, this lot has a 5-foot side setback on one side and a 10-foot on the other side. It's written in the paper, and there's no confusion on it.
Yeah,
But-
often if a property owner looks at their lot, they just look at what's shown on their lot. They might not refer to the detail
Right,
on the
right.
bottom that calls for the 15-foot separation, so.
Right.
Other questions?
Yes, Mike, would you be comfortable buying a house in the floodplain there?
As long as it has had the geotechnical engineer, it's been filled properly, and I had a surveyor come by and do an elevation certificate to show that it was built according to plan, yes, I would feel comfortable.
Other questions? Again, we have a motion and a second to approve Clear Creek Section 3, Phase 2. Ready to vote? All those in favor of that motion to approve, please say aye. Any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. 6B3, final plat for item 22-2017, Jean Acres, 4 lots on 8.5 acres on RL located along Manchester Pike. Doris Jean Davis is the applicant. Danielle?
Thank you. The property's subdividing a large 8-acre tract into 4 lots, which will exceed the 1-acre minimum for RL. These particular lots will require grading plans for lots 2 to 4 due to the topography of the site. And then driveway permits will be required by TDOT for their driveway access, but you can look at the plat and see that they've shown the locations of joint driveways. We found that the plat is in good order, with the exception of fire hydrant determination has not been made. In speaking with CUD earlier today, the request was just submitted last week, and they have not had a chance to analyze it. If the line can support the fire hydrant, then the applicant will be required to show the fire hydrant on the plat. However, if a fire hydrant cannot be supported, then they'll have to appear before you again for a waiver. But apart from the fire hydrant determination, that is, we find that the plat's in good order.
There is an 8-inch line on Manchester Pike, and there is a fire hydrant south of Fox Hollow Road, but it is more than 1,000 feet away. It's over 2,000 feet away, so it's significantly far away. So we'll have to get with CUD and work with them on that. And like Danielle said, due to the steep topography, 2, 3, and 4 will need critical lot grading plans for those.
Mr. Chairman, I move for the approval with staff comments.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 22-2017, Gene Acres. Final plat. Other questions or comments? All those in favor of that motion to approve, please say aye. Any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. 6B4, final plat for item 22-2019, South Haven, Section 10, 59 lots on 13-plus acres on PUD located along Allwood Avenue. South Haven Development Group, LLC is the applicant. Danielle.
Thank you. This preliminary plan was approved in September of 2015, and we found the plat to be consistent with the preliminary plan. There are a couple notes that we'd like to see modified, and we'll make the applicant modify those notes. These notes are typical on most plats. However, we had the new computer system software program that's going to allow us to do the electronic reviews, and sometimes they just get the wording wrong. We'll say include the stream buffer note, and they won't include the entire note as we like to see it. So with the new system that we're getting online, and I'm not trying to sell it to you guys, but we're very excited, we have these notes pre-written out, where all the applicant has to do, or engineer, is cut and paste it so it's in the form that we want to see. And a lot of these minor changes that you're seeing and hearing us discuss tonight will be remedied by the new software program. Obviously, you're going to have problems come through in the future where we're going to need some modifications to a note, but we think that once we standardize this process, it will become more streamlined, and we won't have these little minor administrative details that have to be worked out after your approval. But we did find that this plat's in good order, and with the exception of a couple notes. And Mike, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Just, again, I keep saying the term fine-tuning, little fine-tuning. Some of the lots are in the FEMA flood zone, and they are shown to be elevated, the pad and the floor, but some of them I thought were outside, that we just need to know which lots are needing the pad and floor elevations due to FEMA, which lots need the pad just for local drainage, because you're using a different elevation certificate on those. So the FEMA elevation certificate is a lot more detailed, a lot more time consuming, a lot more work goes into that than a local FEMA elevation certificate. I mean, a local elevation certificate, excuse me. So just, they do note that the lots that are needing minimum pad elevations, but they say it's due to FEMA and local. We'd like to separate which ones are local, which ones are FEMA, for clarification.
Is there a difference on height-wise?
Well, if you can establish the pad elevation above a certain requirement for local, you typically, I don't care if you're building a crawl space or a slab home or anything like that. So if I can get the ground up to protect the house and the driveway from the local issues, it's okay. But FEMA, you've got 1 foot above the base flood elevation for the pad elevation, and then 2 more feet above that for the floor elevation. So you've got 3 feet of freeboard. Like I said, local, it's not that big of an issue as long as I can get the ground up to protect the house and the HVAC unit and all that. So there is a little bit of difference. We typically make sure that the pads both are a foot above any flood issues, the FEMA or the local. So there's a slight difference, but we don't require a floor elevation for local. It's essentially the main takeaway.
And you get the local by the trash and the barbed wire. How do you?
Sorry?
How do you get the local?
You
the
still
trash
have to
and the
have a
barbed wire?
surveyor go out and shoot the ground elevation.
Yeah.
Like I said, the local elevation certificate is a 1-page document. The FEMA one is 4, 6, 8 pages or something like that if you include the photographs and everything else. So it's a lot more detailed. document that we need. And to make a long story short, if we can get the ground up again to protect the house, I don't care if you're building a crawl space or a slab, however high it's sitting up, it should be protected because the ground is elevated.
Make a motion to approve, subject to staff comments.
Greg. We have a motion and a second to approve item 22-2019, South Haven, Section 10. Other questions or comments? All those in favor of that motion to approve, please say aye. Any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. 6B5, final plat for item 22-2020, Davenport Station, Section 5, and re-subdivision of Lot 46, Section 1. 53 lots on 17.76 acres zoned RM, previously approved CUP located along Davenport Drive, BMCH, Tennessee is the applicant. Ooh, Danielle.
This preliminary plan was approved in 2007, September, and it was part of the original Davenport plan PRD. And the lots you'll see in this section are larger than other sections of Davenport because it was approved back in 2007, well before the remaining sections. There were some issues with Milano Drive, and Mike can go into more detail. We did find that the plat was consistent with the preliminary plan. There are a couple minor housekeeping issues. Mike, you had some concerns about a line type for the access easement.
Right. So let me go back to the overall plan. Originally, this, I believe, is Lot 45. Can you see the cursor up there, the little triangle-shaped one? This is a reserve area for CUD step lots. It originally was connected to Lot 47 down here, but CUD didn't need this stretch between them, so it got separated. So what we've kind of worked out is that this lot needs this part to be connected to Lot 46, or 45, sorry. And it shows a fence line type, and I'm not sure what the deal. They've got this as a 30-foot PUD and access easement. We just would rather, instead of having a landlocked parcel on an easement and a separate parcel, go ahead and combine it with Lot 45, just to kind of clarify things. Other than that, I believe that was it. I'll go back to the master plan and give you a preview. This Shelbyville Pike, the new traffic signal is right here, and this is Burnley Way. And you know, a little bit farther to the north, the city of Murfreesboro purchased the land right here north of this development at the end of Hemlock Drive. I will go over to that. So this is where Section 5 will be, if you can see my cursor. The city, in the green right here, is already Barfield Park. Well, the city went in and bought this parcel, and I think maybe these two as well. So this is going to be part of the park expansion. And we left a stub street for access to that part of the park. And from their Greenway master plan, I believe they're going to extend Greenway down the river, but we need that coordinated with the city, just to preview what's coming. But there's, you know, a big park to the north. We'll have access to it, and eventually Greenways will come this way down the river. But the plat's in good order. I'm sorry, I get off on a tangent, but.
Will the Greenway come across Woodruff Cove also?
Yes, sir.
It will.
Right.
Okay.
Commissioner Lynch is saying this is Woodruff Cove as well, and I'll turn on. See, this is the Stones River that comes down here. This is a lot of, they have a lot of common area back here as well. But we've asked the development teams on both developments, Davenport Station and also Woodruff Cove, to save room for a greenway expansion back through there. So I don't know if y'all have been on the city's greenways, but I think it's money well spent to keep those routes open.
Make a motion approved, subject to staff comments.
Motion and a second to approve the final plat for 22-2020 Davenport Station, Section 5, and re-subdivision of Lot 46, Section 1. Other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye. Is there any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. Item 6B6, item 22-2021, final plat for Rucker Landing, Section 4, Phase 2, 8 lots on 1.91 acres, zoned PUD, located along Jackie Retreat Drive. MH Way is the applicant. Danielle.
Thank you. The preliminary plan for this section was approved September 28, 2020. We found that the plat is consistent with the preliminary plan. The applicant addressed all the comments during first review. However, Mike, you had a comment regarding the lots requiring 2 feet.
Yes. So my favorite term of the day, fine-tuning. They have a note down here that says lots with 2 or more feet of fill will require a compaction letter. So I just want to clarify, so when a builder goes to Building Codes Department, they automatically know that this lot should have a compaction letter. So I just need that added to the plat, which lots needed the 2 feet of fill. 2 or more feet, I should say.
Hey, Mike, quick question.
Yes, sir.
Right below that note, it also says that this date of survey was November of 2017. I can't imagine a survey changes very much over time, but do you have a rule of thumb, or do you have a comfort level of how old a survey is?
We don't. That's if you. This development actually went back that far, and a lot of work was done on the front end. They, if you remember, they ran into some wetlands around here and reduced the number of lots. So no, but to answer your question, no, I don't. I mean, once you get over a decade, maybe we need to look at it again, but it's been consistent with our construction plans. They've, kept up with that. They, anything, like I said before, requires anything to do with stormwater or filling on the lots will need a as-built record drawing. So we'll see that again. So it's being surveyed as it comes back into us. So, but the original survey, the boundary work was done in say 17. So yeah, 5 years is a while, but it's not too terribly long.
Questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve with staff comments.
Thank you, David. We have a motion and a second to approve final plat for item 22-2021 Rucker Landing, Section 4, Phase 2. Other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye. Is there any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. 6B7, final plat for item 22-2022 Springhouse, Section 3, re-subdivision of lots 223 and 224, and Section 6, Lot 257, 3 lots on 7.2 27 acres, zoned RM, located along Andy Peach Drive. Russell and Samantha Boozer are the applicants. Danielle.
Thank you. This particular plat is not creating any new building lots. Lots 222 and 223 are acquiring a portion of lot 257, which that entire portion falls within the colonial gas easement and a conservation drainage easement. Any kind of structures or anything that they want to place in this easement, they would have to get approval from Colonial Gas, but they're just wanting to expand their rear yards. The reason that you're seeing this plat is because there are 3 lots, and any plats 3 or greater requires the approval of the Planning Commission. We found that the plat, they've addressed all of staff's comments, and we found that the plat is ready to be approved or in good form.
I think we just needed the CUD easements on the front of these 2 lots to be shown.
Well, that's one of the items that we had talked about with the applicant. What happened was the installation of the septic tanks did not match the actual easement shown on the plat. So you'll see these 2 items on 222 and 223. Those are the septic tanks. That's how the applicant responded to that. Now, they may want to show an easement around that.
You're right. CUD will want an easement around that, so that'll have to be worked out with CUD.
What's your recommendation of staff?
We recommend approval.
Subject to staff comments and fine tuning. Sorry.
I have one question, Chairman.
Mike.
Mike, looking at this page, this document, there is not, the surveyor that's done this is not signed or stamped, and I notice in the top left, you have a lot of blank signatures from 2022. Is that a big deal?
No, sir. A lot of times when stuff is resubmitted to us, it does not have all the signatures. Doug is the last one to sign a final plat, or Danielle. So if these signatures are not in place, everybody else hadn't signed, they won't sign.
Okay, thank you.
And if the surveyor's stamp's not on it,
Right,
they won't sign it either.
Other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of staff comments.
We have a motion and a second to approve the final plat for item 22-2022, Springhouse Section 3, re-subdivision of lots 223 and 224, and Section 6, Lot 257. Other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye. Any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. Item 6C, we have 4 items that have been submitted for site plan approval. 6C1, site plan for 21-3014, Fourth Watch Baptist Church, construction of 4,704 square feet of community assembly area. Church, this is a church, zoned CG, located along Highway 99, Fourth Community Baptist, Watch Baptist Church is the applicant. Danielle.
Thank you. This plan has gone through several reviews. One of the items that was outstanding was a resolution of the fire protection requirements, and we were waiting to bring this before you until that item had resolved. Because of the outcome, it might have required a site design change. However, the applicant has addressed most of our issues, which related, we had some drainage issues with this particular plan. Also, there are some remaining items that the applicant will need to supply and was told they could supply prior to construction permits. They are planning to retain some of the vegetation on site and to get tree credits for that vegetation, they'll need to submit a report from an arborist indicating that the trees are healthy. Did you have anything you wanted to add on this?
Commissioner Reed will probably recognize this property. It is near the confluence of Concord Creek and a major tributary to Concord Creek. Concord Creek comes in here, and this is another major stream that comes through here. This is the property highlighted in yellow. Unfortunately, the FEMA maps did not go all the way down Concord Creek or this major tributary. So if you recall, these two houses are being sought to be bought out by FEMA and the county. We're still waiting from FEMA on these two lots, but knowing that and not having the final information from FEMA, unfortunately my FEMA layer is not working right now, but it was stopped like 6 square miles, almost 7 square miles before the end of ends of these streams. So not knowing the FEMA flood elevations, we applied Eric Hill's dead cow theory and the Murphy's Law worst case scenario. So we're requiring them to elevate this new church site above the highway elevation as a spillover, as just a worst case scenario. So they will be required to give us as-built of this being elevated, the ground elevated. They will require elevation certificates for this. And so this will need a lot of work that we'll have to coordinate with the construction crews and the design engineers and whatnot. But other than that, we're feeling good about it. And I think the only thing that was really holding us up, like Danielle said, was the sprinkler requirements, if they needed them or not.
Now, Mike Pettis may have to improve on my memory here, but as I recall, that lot, it does sit down in the lowlands, and at one time it had an old trailer on it that someone was living in. And I do remember storms regularly flooding this lot. And as I recall, it came up to about floor level of that trailer, mobile home, which would have made it probably close to 3 feet deep in that yard. How much fill are you saying that they're going to have to add to that lot?
Let's see. So let's see. They've got the floor is at 760.8, it's a little bit above, almost a little below 761. So let's see if I can find an existing ground shot. There's 56 there. This is a 56 contour here. So we're looking at 4 more feet of fill, especially for the church and parking area around there. And you can see the spot shots in the middle of the road. 759.8 we thought was the crown, the breakover point. So the church is sitting a foot above that. So if these culverts were ever, the box culvert bridge was ever to be overwhelmed and water started spilling over the highway, they're at least a foot above that, a foot of freeboard above that.
Mike, my question is, you fill that, you build that, and you're going to put in paved parking, right? Where's that water go?
Well, they do have a stormwater management area over here. It's always a challenge with conventional septic system lots You can't do anything to the septic system soil area, which is on the north side of the lot, but they are doing their stormwater management down here in this area. So, it's, like I said, it's a fine balancing act. You have to fill the lot to protect the structures, but you can't fill over the soils area. So a lot of the lot will be left the same, just for the parking area. The church area will be elevated, and we're offsetting that with our stormwater management area. So it's a balancing act. Yes,
Well,
sir.
the reason I question that is behind that are other houses. The water does come out of that Concord Creek
Yes, sir.
and comes to those backyards.
Sir, and we, like I said, we do everything we can to protect the houses around there. Let's see, this is the property for the Fourth Watch Church.
I mean, we approved that at one time for someone to build a car refinishing or
Parts
something of that
store,
type.
yes, sir.
Yeah, at
Right,
one
and they were
time.
going to be elevated too.
And they
yes,
were
sir.
going to raise that one too. But since that time, I know there's been a new house that's been built back that way. Of course, like I said, you got the two houses there that we're waiting on FEMA right now. You know, if we had the FEMA purchase on those new houses, which is something we've got to do to, the county will have to do with as far as removing those houses. That would have a retention area for that water to go.
Right, yes, sir.
That's the biggest concern, is what would it do to the property behind this as far as going there? Because I spend a lot of nights right here on this old Rockville Road whenever it rains 3 inches or better, because all of this does flood right in there. That little creek right there, it doesn't come out of the creeks. It comes out of that field right there
Out
in
of the
front of
field,
those
yes, sir.
houses is where that water comes from. It comes across that field, comes across those yards, and then it goes across there, and it covers that entire area back in there. And when we have those sudden 6-inch rains, it's all over the place out there. So that's what you'll have to deal with in doing this. But I think, you know, when they know up front that that's there, I think if it's a Sunday morning and if they're predicting heavy rains, I'd watch where I park my car.
Yes, sir. Well, yes, sir. The parking lot will be elevated too.
Mike, would a pervious pavement help, or would that?
It's a volume kind of thing. Like Commissioner Reed's saying, it's a flash
Okay.
flood. There's such, if you kind of go out, and I know this is probably more than what y'all were asking for this morning, but there is,
When it rains like you're pouring water out of the boot out there, it doesn't matter what kind of concrete or anything you have there. It just comes down. That creek right there, for instance, back towards that road, when it comes back towards the Concord Road, there happens to be a sinkhole in that creek that is hooked to all of that cave system out there, and when it reaches that water level, it fills up that creek. And it works just like your bathtub. That water will cover that whole area, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it disappears. We've had people lose coon hounds down in that hole. You can hear the dogs running underneath the ground down there. It's that type of system underneath there. But it holds water like that, and then when it comes out over that whole area out there. So I'm just telling you that water is there, and it needs to be understood that it's there.
So, Pettis, how do we fine tune that?
Danielle or Mike, those lots, when FEMA takes over, if they do take over those lots, what happens to those lots? Who do they belong to?
They belong to Rutherford County from here on out.
Okay.
And nothing can be built on those properties other than a park or anything like that. So once the county buys, well, FEMA puts up most of the money, and then the county pays it's 12.5%. The state pays 12.5%. So it belongs to Rutherford County from here on out, and essentially it stays green space forever. We can do stormwater management areas, like Commissioner Reed was saying. We could excavate out some additional volume area, but it's essentially can nothing be built on it.
How old are those homes, do you know?
They were built right before I got here, so it was.
2014.
Thank you.
It's, like I said, I'm frustrated with FEMA because we were told by FEMA that we stop our flood studies when it gets to be 1 square mile of drainage area. 1 square mile is still a huge area. It's 640 acres. But this one, for some reason, was cut off before it was like almost 7 square miles of drainage area. So it's, for some reason, it's a money thing. That's just Mike talking with FEMA. Where you see more rooftops, they put more time and money and effort into their studies. Out in the reaches, the agriculture areas, they don't spend as much time and money and effort on. But rooftops are migrating this way, and that's why you'll see that I'm asking for money on my next year's budget to continue some of these flood studies. So that's a little sales pitch for my budget coming up.
I see Mr. Huddleston out in the audience. Bill, do you have anything you want to add? Nothing like putting you on the spot on a Monday morning, Bill.
That's okay. Good morning, Chairman Phillips, my name is Bill Huddleston, still in here. I'm not the engineer director on this project. Another guy in my office is. I'm here for the next item, but what he has done is set the floor elevation a foot above the highway out there. So if you know it, the highway hasn't been covered with water. I think we're going to be okay. Two things I'll check, though, before we say, Mike, we're ready to go. I'll check the elevations of the houses that you're looking for FEMA to purchase. I think it's important to know what those are in relation to what we're showing. And I can also check the flows coming down through this area and make sure that we're not going to be impacting anybody more. We are putting in a retention pond for this to catch our development water, and if you look at the plan real closely, you'll see that pipes are designed within the parking lot to take the water to this pond before it's released into this drainage way, and also the downspouts for the church itself go to the pond before they go to the system. Be happy to answer any questions if I can.
Mike, anything to add to that?
No, just Greg is going to be asking for some grant money to upsize some box culverts downstream. I think ditch lane's one of them. We think that'll help this drainage situation in the area. But like I said, we're asking for more money to do, continue the FEMA flood studies because they were terminated before it got to this area. So eventually, I don't know if we'll get to this one on this budget cycle because I could spend $2 million easy just doing flood studies that FEMA should have finished.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Mike, So you're setting the elevation on this and not FEMA? We still don't have a FEMA number?
We don't have a FEMA number. They stopped it far to the west on Concord Creek. So we're just using our best guess on this. Our good engineering judgment is what my old boss used to say on this.
Ready for motion?
Mike?
I am willing to make a motion to approve, subject to staff comments, because I am confident between Huddleston Steel and Mike that the hydraulics that are causing the concern will be worked out. And the fact that they're setting the floor elevation above the roadway means this place will always be high and dry. So motion to approve, subject to staff comments.
Mike, if I might suggest, could we add Mr. Huddleston's comments to the staff comments?
Yes, including the spot elevation checks for the existing FEMA homes that are under consideration for removal, and anything else that Bill said that I didn't pick up.
We had a motion to approve and a second. Other questions or comments? Once again, we have a motion and a second to approve the site plan for 21-3014 Fourth Watch Baptist Church. All those in favor of that motion to approve, please say aye. Is there opposition?
Mr. Chairman,
Record show there's one no vote. Motion carries. Item 6C2, site plan for Green Ventures, item number 21-3026, construction of approximately 6,400 square feet of construction, sale, and service space, Zone CS, located at 9310 Franklin Road. Green Ventures is the applicant. Danielle.
Thank you. Green Ventures, they're proposing to expand their operations on the adjacent site. They have improvements on the existing site, and they want to expand to the west. There are many outstanding items. We'll need to see a combination plat before a building permit can be issued. A lot of their lot coverage calculations are dependent on it being a whole lot instead of two separate lots. Also, they'll need to demonstrate that they meet the buffering requirements along the rear property line. That has yet to be done. And also, the pages of the plan need to reflect there's been some modifications to the locations of proposed structures, and all of the plans need to reflect those changes of that proposed building. And Mike, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Again, more fine tuning, but I think the plan is in pretty good order. What Danielle said, there's a pole barn that was proposed originally on this side. I think Bill said that the power line is going to be rerouted, but we're not quite sure where, so they just slid the barn over to this area out of the way. And I think the landscaping plan still shows it in the original location as one item, which is minor. It's just a little, yeah, see over here it still shows in this area. But stormwater, I think they've made a lot of progress. Second, they've made some changes. We still show a junction box that doesn't need to be there. I think it can be removed and just do a head wall here. So I think they've addressed all of our comments, just need to take that out and maybe put some energy dissipation in there, and I think they'll be in good shape. But it's in good order. It is a TDOT road, so we'll have to get a TDOT permit to widen the driveway out here. That's the only other thing that we'll need.
Staff's recommendation.
Approval
With
subject to fine tuning.
conditions.
Chairman, make a motion to approve with staff comments.
Thank you, David. I have a motion and a second to approve site plan for 21-3026 Green Ventures. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye. Is there any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. Item 6C3, 22-3004, Bluegate RV and Boat, construction of 136,781 square feet of automotive parking space, boat and RV storage, on 7.65 acres, zoned EAC, located along Miller Road. Bluegate Christiana is the owner. Ugh. Danielle?
Thank you. They are proposing to construct covered parking areas for boats and RVs. Originally, it was proposed to be a mini storage facility. However, they modified their plan and just want to focus on RVs and boats. They went before the Board of Zoning Appeals in November and got approved for that change because it is a special exception in the Employment Activity Center District. They are also showing a small office. The applicant, we met with the applicant on Friday to discuss some of the outstanding issues, and they have revised the plans as we have asked, but there are some more changes that are needed. We'll need some numbers to be reconciled so that they're matching and not conflicting each other. We'll need calculations demonstrating that the landscaping requirements have been met. Photometric plan has not been submitted, and we need some more information on the fence details that they're showing. It's difficult to tell what the dimensions of that is. And Mike, did you want to address some of your concerns?
Yes. They, like other plans, they've made progress, but this one, I think we still might need a little work on. It drains all to the south. We had some concerns about what's called spread on the pavement, how wide the water spreads. They are showing a couple double inlets and some curbing to catch it all on this south end. But for stormwater treatment, one of the details they're showing, let me zoom back up, sorry. So they are calling for double curb inlet in this location and this location with aqua swirl stormwater treatment. Stormwater treatment units, they're designed to help sediment and clean the water before it gets into the pond. But they're calling these inlets these aqua swirl units. And from past design life, they are typically set not in the inlet boxes themselves, they're set downstream of those. And to make a long story short, these double inlets won't be the units themselves, you'll have a unit past it right there. So that'll take some coordinating and fine-tuning. They have added a big forebay for us, and we're appreciative of that. We've asked them to add a shoulder along Miller Road and do some ditch improvements. They've shown some spot shots, but not the grades. And there's an existing CUD water line, I think a 16-inch water line that runs along here that we got to make sure when you're making these ditch improvements, you're not uncovering the water line or reducing the cover over the top of it. So we'll need to see a little more detail of what's going to be on here. Just a typo, they call out a 90-inch diameter pipe. and those RVs will have a hard time getting up and over that, so I think it's just a type. That was supposed to be humor, but anyway, they will need to correct that. And so this is one we think we might need see a little more cooking and work done on that. They've made a lot of progress. Another thing is the entrance gate. My assistant county engineer, Sheila Huffmeyer, is a avid RVer, and they go all the time. And we were talking about the gate set up here. She said typically it's there's an island in the middle. You drive up, you punch in your pad, and one of the gates open. This one, they're showing a swinging gate that's 35 feet wide. We think it'll be a sliding gate, maybe one or two sliding gates. So we'll need to see how the owner wants this to function, and is there an island in between. So that's something else that we need to clarification on, and then of course the other things that Danielle's talked about, but it has made significant strides, but we still think that we need some more detail on what work needs to be done on the site.
Mr. Chair, it seems like there are an awful lot of issues to be worked out on this site plan. I know we've had this conversation before, that we like to see things pretty much the way that they are going to be when we approve something, and not bog staff down with doing design work and that sort of thing. So unless someone has arguments to the contrary, I'm going to make a motion to deny this plan.
Mayor, defer.
We could probably defer it for 2 weeks and bring it back to the night meeting if you want to, or the next month, or day meeting for a month later.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to revise my motion then to defer this for 4 weeks to our next plans review meeting.
We have a motion and a second to defer item 22-3004 for Bluegate RV and Boat storage.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question, if I could, if I may. Mike, on the stormwater runoff, I counted nearly 200 spaces on this property. Do those AquaSwirl treat fluid runoff, antifreeze,
Well, that's
oils,
something
things?
else we
I'd like
don't
to see
know.
that addressed.
It's a hydrocarbon sensitive area, yes, so we will probably need, no, the AquaSwirls do not. That's a good point. We will need something that will, like at a gas, we've seen it at these gas stations, that will treat these hydrocarbons.
I'd like to see that addressed in this next plan as well. Thank you.
Other questions?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman, and that was a very astute question for you. Congratulations. These are, am I under the impression that these are covered?
It's essentially a canopy, so you'll
Okay.
be able to pull your RV in and just park underneath the cover.
I'm gonna bring this out now instead of 2 weeks or 30 days from now. My first thought is, okay, that's cool, but we're right next to Interstate 24. The north south. The sun sets in the west, right? North southeast. Yeah, sun rises in the east, sets in the west. Okay, I'm concerned. As the setting sun comes, I just want to make sure these canopies do not create a glare issue on the interstate travel. You see what I'm saying? I don't want this to be like a giant mirror or a magnifying glass where this all of a sudden puts a brilliant amount of light on 24. So whatever roof finish or texture needs to be not reflective.
And then we can work with building codes on that as well, make sure of that. But we'll ask the... Yes, another astute question, yes. So we've asked the owner and the design team for a set of plans that they've done elsewhere. We've seen this at a smaller scale at a lot of our mini storage, but nothing this massive. So These will be tall, yes, sir, right. So they will have landscaping around the perimeter, but, you know, in the wintertime, the leaves fall off and see straight through the trees. But we've asked to see a set of plans on a site that they've done somewhere else in the country, so we can kind of gauge what's been done at other places. And from what Sheila, my assistant, says, it's highly needed, you know, to place to store your RV and your boat. And
Could you kind of pan out on Miller Road and kind of show us where it exactly is on Miller Road and how it affects the curvature of that road?
Well, it's south of Epps Mill Interchange. Right here's Epps Mill. This is 24. The site is right here. The Highway Department has been doing a lot of work on Miller to be able to get school buses safely down to the new school site on Sledge down here. They've made a lot of improvements in the area on the surrounding roads. Sledge is one, Miller is another. They've made these large, instead of sharper corners, they've smoothed these out and made all kinds of improvements. But this is the site right here, if you can see my mouse. And this is the interchange. So it's not far off the interchange. There's, I think, a Shell gas station here. This is the Love's Travel Stop on the other side. This used to be Outpost Armory, if you remember that. And Barrett Manufacturing is right here for reference.
Any other questions? Have we voted? Thank you. We have a motion and a second to defer item 22-3004, Bluegate RV and Boat Storage. All those in favor of the motion to defer, please say aye. Aye. Opposition? The motion to defer carries. Thank you. Item 6C4, 22-3006, a site plan for Southern Harmony Amenity Center, construction of 31,970 square feet of amenity center with associated pickleball courts, tennis courts, swimming pool, etc. on 15.4 acres, zone PUD, located along Franklin Road. Pulte Home Tennessee Limited Partnership is the applicant. Danielle.
Thank you. The Southern Harmony PUD was approved by the Board of Commissioners on November 12, 2020. The preliminary plan for the development was approved by the Planning Commission in April of 2021. The amenity center is part of the approved master plan, and the applicant submitted an extensive set of drawings that were reviewed by staff. Planning staff finds that the plans are in good order. The applicant has addressed all the comments that planning had, but I do know that engineering has some comments.
Yes, engineering always has comments. Yes. This is a massive set of plans. It's a large amenity center for the new Southern Harmony development, and it's a good-looking set of plans. We just had some comments needing some additional revisions and work on that. You can kind of see there's a roundabout up front, and this is off of the main entrance coming in. So as you're coming into this development, this is what you'll see. They've got the large amenity center here, and also a sales office, some maintenance buildings, pickleball gazebos, pavilions, all kinds of nice amenities that are planned for this development. So some of the things that we need some more, and again, fine-tuning, clarification is the ADA routes into the buildings, and I'll try to get to one of those. Like I said, it's a massive set of plans. I believe it's like 40 pages of plans. So there's a lot of work that went into this, and they're, like I said, good looking set of plans. one of the things that we always look for is the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, accessible routes into any facility. Now, they do meet the ADA requirements for parking spaces, and one of our comments was you've got a 6-inch curb along this circular front door of this amenity center. So if you're dropping off grandma or your wife or whatever and she's mobility impaired, she can't go this way if she's in a wheelchair. So a lot of times we've asked that they make these drop-off routes ADA accessible. And so if you're driving up, you're going to stop your car, allow someone to get out, that it's an accessible route. The route that they're showing is good and meets our requirements, but I think it's coming in this way. So we just want, and this is a retirement community, so we need this to be accessible for everybody that's using this facility. A lot of the work that's being done in Phase 1, they've got a great sidewalk set up. They've got handicap ramps in the roads. So if somebody's walking or is mobility impaired, they've got to be able to get across the street and through all the way to the development or the amenity center or wherever they're going. So we've asked that they make sure that all these are ADA accessible, and they've agreed to do that. There's just, like I said, it's 40 some odd pages, a massive set of plans. So there's a lot of work that goes along with that. So let's see. So going back and forth, and they have reached out to us. We have not been able to talk to them about everything. So there's, we'll ask them to change something. They'll do it, and then it might bring up another comment. So it's a lot of back and forth with this development. They are adding a huge stormwater management area that is interconnected to another huge stormwater management area on the other side of one of the roads in here. And this is just preference, this is just Mike talking. The way these plans are set up, you've got grades on one, contours on one page, the stormwater network on another page. So it's the way they do to set up their plans is different from what we've seen, and it's with different aspects of a stormwater plan on different sheets. You've got to flip over and find some information on one sheet and then flip back to the other page. So we're just and that's part of the review process and getting to know the new design firm. We've just worked with Thomas & Hutton on this Southern Harmony development. They're new to, or at least to me, reviewing their plans. So it's kind of, they're getting used to us and we're getting used to them as well. So they've done most everything that we've asked for. I could rattle off a few things, but it's just mainly reviewing, tweaking, and making sure everything's okay. One issue we saw that they've agreed to make a change. So the original road network was approved in Section 1, Phase 1, with roads, drainage, and everything. This is a double curb inlet with it's a curb inlet that's got a hood. So we told them that this needs to be updated to be over here on this island, and that's just something that they'll have to tweak with the original construction plans. So to make a long story short, there's a lot of back and forth with this set of plans. They are in mostly good order, but if we can continue to work with them, we think we can get this in perfect shape, well, great shape, I'll say. So there's always things that need to be revised that you find during construction, but they've addressed most or all of our comments, and a lot of it is just them, the way they do things and set things up. Say, for instance, right here. So you've got some proposed grades, some spot elevations, but you've got some inlets that don't have any information on. You have to flip to another page to find that information. So it's kind of just the way things are set up. And you know, we can get on the same page, I believe. Like I said, it's a really good looking set of plans, and we traveled to Spring Hill and saw the same kind of development there, and it's a beautiful facility, and it will be an asset to the community. But if you allow us to continue to work with them and fine-tune this, we think we can get this in outstanding shape.
So, what are you looking for from us, Michael?
Approved, subject to staff comments.
Okay, all right.
Sorry, that was a lot of rambling. Sorry.
All right,
And I know you're tired.
That's fantastic. So you're seeing some just minor things, ADA?
Yes, yes. So they've got, this is a retirement community.
Right.
They've got a lot of golf carts, and here's for instance. So we had one of our comments for this golf cart parking area back here. It was really steep grades. They showed it, but it was like on the slope of this stormwater management area. We told them that was too steep, so they needed to fix that. Well, they fixed that, but you're going to need a retaining wall over here now, and you're most likely going to need a fence or, you know, wheel stops and things like that. So just, it's back and forth kind of thing.
All right. As someone who has a 93-year-old mother in a independent living facility here in Murfreesboro, who loves the outdoors, who is probably in better health than I am, but she's blind as a bat because of macular degeneration. She loves the outdoors, but she needs light. She needs nice places to sit in the evening. She needs a great place to walk around safe in the daytime, and they need places to congregate and have fun and chit-chat. But lighting and safety is the big thing for her. And I know Pulte has done this a million times over and have researched the needs for the elderly, and this is not anything that they have not heard. So as long as, Michael, you continue to focus and look at these plans and look for things like that, because I want you to think of your mother and your father being in a community like this.
Well, my aunt's actually looking to move here. Yeah, she's looking into this.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
You know, put your 80-year-old hat on and walk around this facility in your mind and see what things that could be a hazard or something that they would enjoy. That being said, I would like to make a motion to approve, subject to staff comments.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve item 22-3006, Southern Harmony Amenity Center, with staff comments. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye. Is there any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. I would also add that this will be an asset to the community, the type of development that adds to the community, and we're proud to have them here and look forward to working with them. Our next meeting will be a 6 p.m. meeting here in this courtroom on April the 11th. That'll be Monday, April the 11th. Danielle, Mike, y'all have anything?
Oh, I've talked long enough. Yes.
Yes. Pettis.
Just want to remind all of the commission members that we have another Plan Rutherford coming up in April. I invite you out to Rockville. That's where it's going to be, at the Rockville High School. That's April the 21st at 5 o'clock out there in the high school. I'd like for you to come out if you didn't have the opportunity to be with us at the Ag Center. 6. I want you there at 5 o'clock to meet the people to come out, because we did have a lot of people to come out there at the Lane Agri Center. But I think it's an opportunity for us to get their input, to know what's going on in this county, and as what we have gone through here today. And we've had all these astute remarks that's been made by these individuals right here. I think that's important that we get this put in here. And I think as you've seen what we've gone across here, there's a lot of this that's coming across every one of these plans that's come to us. There's little bitty things in there now that once that wasn't all that important, but now as this county becomes smaller, I mean, it hadn't gone anywhere, but yet it has become smaller, just like the world has, I guess is what you would say. I'll have to go back on that situation where we were talking about the water out there where I live, and I did say no on that. And the reason that I did say no is because, yes, I do live there. If somebody had told me as a county commissioner that I would have to install a weather station, an electronic digital weather station in my house just to be a county commissioner, I would have thought they were crazy back when I first ran. But to be the county commissioner out there in my district, I almost have to have one, because I spent a lot of nights up watching the weather. And that weather station that I have, it has outside, it has the twirly gig on it that reads the speed. It tells me when it's going to rain. It does every bit of that. I know down to the very small drop of rain exactly how much rain we got in a day. And it does that. And I can tell by that weather station I got where it's going to flood out there in my district, because I have gotten to where I'm up at that time of night. That particular area where we looked at this morning, I've been sitting there watching it rise with those families out there. And that's the reason I said no, because I'm wanting to hear what their engineers are going to give me on those sites out there, just to make sure that I can go back and tell those families, hey, it's going to be okay in what they're doing, because they're going to do that. I want to be sure. And that's why I said no. And I know we've got another shot at this, at another plan, and I'll be okay there. But I have to do that because I've sat there those nights. Those two houses that we've talked about here, Mike and myself had, I've seen them move their belongings out, I don't know how many times, because they're still in that house, moving them out, moving them in, moving them out, moving them in. And if you don't think it's hard on a family that has to do that, they have children, they never know whenever it's going to rain what's going to happen. And I just showed Mike right here a picture of what happened back during this winter as it went across. And that water is never the same. It changes back and forth, where it rises, where it doesn't. But that's what it is, and that's what we're looking at. And I think when we talk about Plan 21, that's what we want the input from the people, where we need to change, what we need to do. And we've got to take this serious. I hate to say this, but I went to Plan 2035 for the city up here when they had their public hearing. And it was done and happened overnight, just about that quick. But I like the way Rutherford County is. We're going different places. We're getting the people's input, and I think it's important we do that. Our chairman was up there talking, telling them what we've got done, and I think it's important we do this. And I think it's important we, as the commissioners on this planning commission, are there that night as well to see what's going on. But I just want to say I appreciate what our staff's doing and how they do this, and our chairman being there to push Plan Rutherford.
Thank you, Pettis. Any other speeches? Pettis will also chair a Public Safety Committee meeting tonight, and Commissioner Allen will chair Health and Ed Committee meeting tomorrow night, and we'll continue to talk about spending a lot of money, so be there or tune in. Anything else? Once again, thank you for your patience, your time, your attendance, and your input. We are adjourned.